Hello and welcome to another amazing board check. Tonight's a show I've been looking forward to and not looking forward to for a long time because it is the end of season 2. There will be a season 3. Don't worry about it. There is definitely going to be a season 3, but we're going to be on a little bit of a break until I believe it's late September. We'll be back with board check season 3, but got some things to attend to before then. So let's have fun the next 3 periods. Right now, I want to start with some Gladiator news. And the Gladiator news, let's talk about the Gladiators have named a few new people to their staff. They have hired Jason Darbin as their new director of ticket sales. In addition, Joe Gelderman has been named the team president, effective immediately, and Clyde Patterson has been promoted to director of community and youth hockey relations. So congratulations to Jason, Joe, and Clyde, and you can read more about that. You can read more about all these at atlantagladiators.com. It was also announced last Thursday, of course this being Wednesday, but didn't see you till then. They acquired the rights to defenseman Ben Damford from the Orlando Solar Bears. He is the conclusion of the trade that sent Justin Buzzio to the Solar Bears for Alex Gasick. He was the future consideration, basically. He is 6 foot, 185 from Minnesota. He skated in 51 games with Orlando. He got 6 goals, 14 assists, and 20 points. Had a plus 21 rating. He played at Canisius College. He amassed 84 points in 158 games. He's just a great mobile defenseman, and I welcome him to the team. So welcome to the team, Mr. Danford. Now, also the Gladiators released the protected list, which includes 15 forwards and 8 defensemen. You can look up the whole thing on the whole big list here. It's pretty much most of the players everybody knows. Teams, of course, are allowed to protect as many players as they wish, provided the players protected meet the guidelines defined by the CBA agreement between the ECHL and Professional Hockey Players Association, which state that the team shall retain the rights to each player that signed a SPC in 2016-17 with the member and has not been traded or released. Signed one and was recalled to the NHL, AHL, or IIHF team, has not been traded or released, or got a qualifying offer last summer for the current season, did not sign a SPC, and has not been traded or released. There's a bunch of pretty much this is to let people like the Vegas Golden Knights know that these guys are off limits. Producer saying I need to name some of these guys. Some of the guys you guys should know. They're on here. Daniel Bontage, Shane Baker's on here. Thomas Frazee or Frazee, Connor Gordner, Alex Gasick, Alex Guptill, Brock Higgs, Colin Jacobs, Patrick McCaden, Trevor Mangoria, Tyler Murovich, Eric Neely, and of course, my captain, Derek Nesbitt. Had to get that in before the end of the season, right? Defenseman, Akim Alua is on here, Josh Atkinson, Drew Baker, Rory Rawlick, who is currently playing. He played in some hockey tournaments in Australia, which was pretty interesting. Dalton Ream, Tyler Shiplow, Colin Sullivan. You can get the whole list at atlantagladiators.com, but good to know. And of course, the Atlanta Gladiators have teamed up with the Georgia Public Libraries, so from June 1st to September 22nd, it is called the Hat Trick for Reading Challenge. Make sure I get all the... Here we go. Students kindergarten through 12th. They'll read 3 books and then have their parents register their participation online at atlantagladiators.com/hattrick beginning on September 29th. Parents are encouraged to check their email for instructions on how to obtain the student's free ticket. Available with the purchase of 1 adult discounted premium level ticket. You can register up to 4 kids. Hey, that's good. You know what? I just may get my nephew involved in this. I think it's something he'll enjoy. Plus, it gets people out to the games. You guys need to come to more games. I went to a bunch of them last year, and I didn't see a lot of you guys. Now, I met some of you guys, and that was very nice. Need to meet all you guys. Would like to meet anybody. Even if you don't watch this show. If you have friends that don't watch my show, first of all, get them to watch the show. Then second of all, tell them they need to come to these games. Gladiators hockey is fantastic. Like I said, definitely get your kids to read anyway. Have them read over the summer and register for this, and they get a free hockey ticket, which gives you a reason to go. And of course, I can't get out of here without saying congratulations to the Colorado Eagles, who won the ECHL Cup, the Kelly Cup. Actually swept the South Carolina Stingrays, but congratulations to the Stingrays for getting as far as they did. They, we were rooting for them here with the Gladiators out. We were rooting for them, and because we got to meet a lot of them when they were in town, and they were super people too. So, congratulations out to South Carolina for making it all the way to the Cup, and congratulations to Colorado for winning the Cup. So, congratulations to all you guys. And that's going to do it for period number 1. We come back for period number 2. We're going to talk about the Stanley Cup Finals. Of course, we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup Finals. And then period number 3, we'll finish up with some odds, some ends, and some season-ending stuff. And we'll get out of here and do some other things, I guess. But for right now, we're going to be at a break. On the other side of the break, remember, we're going to talk Stanley Cup Finals right here. Period number 2 coming up on BoardCheck. We'll be right back. And we're back for period number 2 right here on BoardCheck. I am Jeremy, the Impact York. You guys know that. Now, we talked about some Gladiator news and everything. Now we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, I want to kind of trace through, I'm not going to take a whole lot of time. I'm going to trace through the bracket here of the 2 teams. Now, of course, we all know how the Predators shocked everybody. Well, almost everybody. Some people, I'm not going to take credit because I didn't call it, but man, I was on the fence about it. But completely swept the Blackhawks. Then they beat the Blues 4-2. Then they beat the Ducks 4-2 and move into the final. Now, the Penguins had to beat the Blue Jackets, which they did in 5 games, 4-1. It took 7 games to beat the Capitals, but we knew that they were going to do that. And it took 7 games to beat the Senators, which, hey, turns out the Senators are pretty good, guys. Before they moved on to the Stanley Cup Finals, and ultimately Pittsburgh winning that one 4-2. I want to talk a little bit about game number 5. In game 5, it was... I told people, if you don't look at the scores and you just watch these games, when I took the goals out of the highlights, this looks like a dead even game. Every time one gets momentum, the other counters and takes it back. And every time one gets a big shot out, the other one gets one out. So, but in this game, it was all Pittsburgh on the scoreboard as Justin Schultz, Brian Rust, Evgeny Malkin, Connor Sheary, Phil Kessel, and Ron Hainsey all put one in the back of the net. There you go. Picarine and Saros all saw some action in that game. Matt Murray, 17 saves in that game, and if I'll talk about the MVP in a minute, but he probably should have been in the conversation if he wasn't. But let's see. Yep, Ron Hainsey that did play in Atlanta. I thought he played in Atlanta for a while, so good for Hainsey that he was able to get his ring. The deciding game, of course, we all watched this game, number 6. It ended up being just 2-0 Penguins, which I'll get into in a minute about the lack of scoring and all. But you had the goal disallowed early by the Predators. I don't care what anybody says. That's the way it's written up. It was not a good goal. It would have been, but it was called off because it should have been called off because of player safety, especially for the goalies in that point. Right call, wrong place. Those kind of things happen. But then Patrick Hornquist was able to put one in with about a minute and a half left. And then ultimately Carl Hagelin, who is not a big fan with the Ranger fans at this point. Ranger fans are not big fans of Carl Hagelin. But good for him. He was able to tap in what was the clincher at that point. Can we get the, where is that? Yeah, Matt Murray had 24 saves. How many did Rene have? Rene had 25. Tons of shots in this game. Tons of shots. But ultimately they won on that one. Some things I wanted to talk about here. Your leaders for the playoffs. Leader in points was Malkin, who had 28 total, which was 10 goals and 18 assists. Sidney Crosby had 27. That's, the Penguins are a lot like the Golden State Warriors, and the Predators were a lot more like the Cavaliers as far as the way this played out. Even though this went to 6 games, we all know basketball didn't. It went to 5. But just star power and veteran on top of veteran for Pittsburgh and all the emerging stars that are coming from the Predators. But, like I said, your offensive leaders as far as points. Malkin 28, Crosby 27, Phil Kessel had 23. Kessel Vessel, he had, that's a lot. That's 78 points between those three. That's crazy. Now, Jake Guentzel also had 21, so hey, that's almost 100 just between those 4 players. Then you can't leave out Philip Forsberg, who had 16. He led the Predators. He's the emerging star there. There's a bunch of them, but he's going to be the next big thing, I think. And kid plays hard. He's fantastic to watch. And that's one thing the Predators did, was let everybody know that they're an entertaining watch. And if you're not watching, you're missing something. Goal leaders. Obviously, Jake Guentzel gets the goal leader award with 13. Malkin had 10. Our good buddy Philip Forsberg had 9. Crosby with 8. Kessel with 8. Who am I missing? Anybody? Oh, Brian Rust, who had 7. That guy emerged and did some good things as well. Assist leader, Sidney Crosby with 19. Malkin had 18. Phil Kessel had 15. Victor Arvidsson had 10. Ryan Johansson had 10. PK Subban had 10. Matthias Ekholm had 10. That's a lot. And I just got to say, shout out to Erik Karlsson, who may miss 4 months after getting his knee cleaned up. Or, no, tendons in his ankle. Tendons in his foot. He's getting cleaned up. He had surgery, or he's going to have surgery soon. Going to miss about 4 months. But all the stuff he did, and he's been injured for over a month, I think. Shout out to Eric Carlson on that. He actually had 16 assists. Plus minus rating, Philip Forsberg plus 14. Phil Kessel was plus 12. Ryan Johansson was plus 12. Evgeny Malkin plus 9. Brian Dumoulin with 9 as well. And then when we get to the goalie stuff, look, I'm a big Rene fan, but you kind of got to be a Murray fan as well. Pekka Rinne, second on the list with a 1.96 goals against average. He was actually tied with Jake Allen from the Blues, which you got to imagine Pekka also played 6 more games than he did. But number 1 on that list for goals against average with a 1.70, Matt Murray. Pekka Rinne was third on the list with a 9.30 save percentage. Jake Allen was a 9.35, and Matt Murray was a 9.37. All great. Now, because of some injuries and flip-flopping and such, as far as wins, Matt Murray had 7. Marc-Andre Fleury, who I'll get into in a minute, I think he'll have a new home next year. Seems like some other people are starting to agree with me. Marc-Andre Fleury had 9, and Pekka Rinne had 14. 14 wins. And shutouts. Pekka had 2, Marc-Andre Fleury had 2, and Matt Murray had 3. So that's 5 shutouts for the Penguins. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. This series, I had so many people tell me that either because I wouldn't shut up about it, or they would catch a commercial or catch part of a game on here or there. They watched some part of the Stanley Cup series, some part of the playoffs, or they watched the final Stanley Cup Finals, and they're back into hockey. So we're doing something right. We're doing something right if we're getting you guys back into hockey. Hockey is a fantastic sport. You should be watching it. And, you know, it's just a fantastic sport. You guys should all be enjoying it and bring your kids to games and such like that. But it's going to do it for me for period number 2. Only 1 period left. We're going to do some season wrap-up and some other things on period number 3 when we get back from the break on BoardCheck. And we're back here, period number 3 on BoardCheck. I'm Jeremy the Impact York. Thanks for this whole season. Thanks for coming back. Check us out. We're going to do some season wrap-up related stuff. Talked about the Gladiators earlier. You know, the Bruins obviously had a little bit of a disappointment towards the end, but to me, I felt like they overachieved. A lot of people didn't have them doing nearly as well as they did, and I thought they had a good season, you know. Obviously, dumping the coach, getting a new coach, there'll be some shuffles here and there. You know, the expansion draft is coming up, and I'll get to that here in a second. Here's how the expansion draft works. If you're on the protected list, nothing to worry about. If you're not on the protected list, you may have a new home. You're allowed to pick up to 1 player per team unless there's a trade involved. Like if you were going to pick up one guy that they really wanted to keep and couldn't, they may try to trade you somebody else or some other package deal, and you can kind of work that out the way that goes. You can't just, you know, if you're a Bruins fan, you can't just go, oh, I totally, you know, just for the sake of, oh, Tuukka Rask sucks, we should put him on the unprotected list. And then, no, first of all, Tuukka Rask doesn't suck. He's about 2/3 of the reason you won as many games as you did. You need to get him a quality backup that can actually win games in the NHL. Malcolm Subban failed experiment. Everybody else failed experiment. Maybe you should look at the local Gladiators here who had Matt Ginn and had a bunch of different great goalies. Every goalie we had was good. I don't know why you wouldn't start moving them up the pipeline there, but it is what it is. No, you can't just put the players you don't like on there. You got to protect certain ones, and certain ones that qualify. Certain ones don't. Some of them have no movement clauses, and you just can't do anything about it unless they waive the no movement clause. Well, somebody that did move his no movement clause. Apparently he did it in February, and they waited till now to tell everybody. Marc-Andre Fleury of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I've said all along, I felt like with Matt Murray the way he was playing, that Marc-Andre Fleury, it's really hard to keep those two apart when you're talking like that. Marc-Andre Fleury would be a great addition and who the Vegas Golden Knights should take from Pittsburgh. I absolutely agree. That's who I would take. That's who I would want. And now that he waived his no movement clause, now it doesn't disappear. He's just saying that he's opening himself to potentially be picked by them. They don't have to. Varlamov and some other good goalies are out there as well, but Marc-Andre Fleury is just the kind of guy you'd want in a in a new franchise like that. So that's exactly who I'd go after. Now, like I said, I've been saying this for a little over a month that he would be a great pickup for them, and now finally the NHL and some other sources and some other sites and other places, other journalists have started to write articles saying just that. Now, appreciate you guys watching, because obviously that's where they get the idea, right? They get the idea from us. I talk to you guys talk to me. I do a show and talk about the things we talk about. So they're listening to us. That's good. Maybe we can get some of the Vegas guys on to talk about some of the things. Obviously, not going to tell us who they're going to pick or anything like that, but learn how things are going out there. The new T-Mobile Arena that they're going to play their games in is now going to have the Mayweather-McGregor fight, August 26th, apparently. That was announced earlier. So, big things happening in Vegas. And if the Golden Knights just take off and do spectacular, then the Raiders may moving over. It's supposed to be like 2 or 3 years before they move from Oakland. Maybe they look and do it in a couple of years. But I know the Knights have, I think it's the D Casino. They have partnered with the official casino of the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah. Because gambling is not a problem. And that's not sarcastic at all. But some other things on closing up shop. Let's give congratulations out to the Penguins. They not only get their 5th total cup, but here's some interesting facts. They are the first team since the 96-97 Red Wings, or 97-98, somewhere in there, to be back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. I told you they got 5. Okay. 3 with Crosby, and 2, those 2 there, were with Super Mario Lemieux, who happens to be the guy in charge of the team. So all 5 have had to do with Super Mario. Figure that one out, right? Another name to throw out there as far as the expansion draft is Dan Girardi, because he was just bought out by the Rangers. As somebody who follows the Rangers and somebody who has a lot of friends who follow the Rangers, thank you, Dan, for all that you've done. You've been a fantastic player in the league, and you're going to continue to play. And you know what? Maybe you should sign with Vegas. It might be a good spot for you. But, as good as the Penguins are, the question out there now is, can they three-peat? Well, I think they can. I absolutely think they can. Right now, they've got to be the pick out of the East. I mean, there's a couple teams in the East that could stand a chance. The Rangers being one, Boston being one. There's always competition out there. Maybe Washington shakes it up enough. I mean, they're thinking about all possibilities, including trading Ovechkin. So maybe they're actually a little more lost than we thought they were. But the Penguins have got to be the favorite. My rule is you're the favorite until you get beaten. They're the champs. They're the defending champs, 2-time defending champs. So, as far as the West, I think we saw out there between the Connor McDavids and the Austin Matthews and this young crop coming through. We got to throw the Senators in there because the Senators gave the Penguins a pretty good run on the East. The Oilers, the Maple Leafs, at some point the Kings and Sharks are going to put it together, even though the Sharks could lose one of the Joes. At some point they're going to put those together. So hockey's going to thrive. Hockey's going to continue to thrive. But for now, we're stuck watching YouTube videos for the summer. And I believe all the preseason stuff will be starting in early September. So that's going to do it for me this week. And that's going to do it for me for season number 2. I appreciate you guys. You guys made all this possible this go around, just like you did in the first season. And, you know, we'll always be here. We'll still be doing Sports Club every other Thursday, including tomorrow night, live on Blog Talk Radio. You can check us out. All the links and everything are all over our social media. So if anything hockey does happen, or if we get a hockey guest, you'll see them on Sports Club. But signing off for season number 2, I am your captain. I am my captain, I guess, too. Jeremy the Impact York. Thanks for joining us on BoardCheck. Go watch hockey. We'll see you guys in September.
Let's get ready to rumble! Feel the fires into the rear. It's nice and only know how.